Okay, so today is the 2nd of February 2016 at about 2:15 p.m. on that date. I'm sitting here with Ferd, and we're visiting about his life and history and the recording for his family. So go ahead, Ferd.
You read it.
So Ferd is showing me first of all, he showed me a map and a clipping from the Kansas City Star. I'm not sure of the date, but it talks about U.S. military authorities have identified the remains of 7 servicemen missing in action since their cargo plane went down in Burma in World War II. This is the men were aboard the C-47 Skytrain that left India on May 23, 1944 to resupply Allied forces near Maitakai. I can't pronounce the name, but never returned. Anyhow, Ferd has the clipping and the map around that, and he shared that with us. He has the names, and we have the documentation for that. That's really neat. Really neat. He's also showed me Ferd has also showed me a photograph here from August 1944. 2 days after it was captured from the Japanese. It also is also the crew of the B-25H. So are you on this photograph?
Yeah.
All right. So Ferd is showing me the photograph, and he's on the far left-hand end, the tall, skinny, good-looking guy. That's great. Yeah. So Ferd has a really good documentation here. That's outstanding. Outstanding. So anyway, we are looking here at some of his documentation, and I've come specifically to ask Ferd to expand on whatever he chooses. And it looks like he has some agenda items here that we can talk about. You know, my main thing is to perhaps move to his life out of the military, but Ferd's going to talk about whatever he wants to talk about, and that's a good thing.
This is a picture of a cockpit of a B-25.
Yeah. All right. Ferd is showing me this photograph of the B-25, and it looks more complex than I could possibly understand. Very nice, very nice.
And here's one here. You got to read right up here.
Yeah. So Ferd is showing me a photograph. Again, we have all the documentation here. A B-25 J. Nanning, China, June 1945, built by North American in Kansas City, Kansas. That's amazing. And the tall, skinny guy on the right must be Ferd.
And this here guy here, I met him over there. I went to a one-room schoolhouse with him.
Oh, really? Yeah, so
I found out where he was located, and we happened to land there, and I looked him up.
very nice, very nice, very nice. Yeah, those are great things. And
this here one was made in Fairfax.
was it really?
Yeah.
Really? That's incredible. That's really incredible. Very, very nice, very nice. Ferd is showing me another document called a CBI Order of Battle. And again, he has all this documentation. This was printed on June 6th, 2014 from a website. Again, he has all the documentation here. CBI Order of Battle, Lineages of History is the title. It's got various airfield codes. Again, a great documentation. The man has done an outstanding job of documenting items here.
Here's after we were shifted from Burma to southeast China, and a little town called Nanning, or air base.
Yes.
And we were flying, I think they were OSS people and French officers to south to French Indochina. The Japs had a base down there, and we wanted to find out what was going on there, and the French wanted to find out, and we would take a B-25 and take the put take the Bombay, open the Bombay and put a platform in there, and the guys that showed up that wanted to jump, they would have a map, and they would say, at this place I want to jump. And we had it fixed so he'd ride to Bombay to that area, and he'd press a button and the Bombay would open and he'd jump. And then the pilot, I'd be in the top turret, and the pilot would say, did the parachute open? I'd say, yeah. Well, he says, we're going back home.
That's all I want to know. I see.
And that went on for quite a while. And about the 1st of September, I was sleeping, and we was in tents, and we were sleeping in cots. And somebody was shaking me and shaking me and shaking me. And I said, what in the heck is going on? It was dark. He said, Kobolt, get up, get up, get up. I said, what's going on? He said, take my Jeep and go out to the air base. He said, call the tower and get the tank wagon in there and gas that 25, but all it'll hold. But he said, I got to get a co-pilot and a radio operator. So it was almost dark here. It was just getting daylight, and I went out there, called the tower, and the gas truck come out, and I gassed it up, and I started it up, and about that time, he showed up, and he had a co-pilot who was from Anthony, Kansas, and he had a radio operator, and we got in, and he pulled out, and we took off, and I said, what's going on? Where are we headed? He said, when we get there, you'll know. So we flew, and I kept watching. After 2 or 3 hours, I knew we was going northwest. And pretty soon, after we got up there, and I was worried about gas, but because I was a flight engineer, and we landed at Kunming, China, and that, at that time, I think that was if that wasn't the capital, it was very near.
Mhm.
It was in the northern part of China. And we I hadn't had anything to eat yet. And I said, the guy who was with me said, let's get us something to eat. Well, it wasn't very long, and a B-29 landed. And they wasn't supposed to land on because that wasn't good enough runway, but they did anyway. So I said to the guy with me, let's see whether they got any food on there. So we went over and talked to them people, them crew. He said, yeah, they had some, so they give us some. We said, what in the heck are you guys doing here? You ain't supposed to be landing here. That runway ain't good enough for 29. He said, in about 2 hours, there is going to be 2 B-24s with 30 some high-ranking officers out of Mukden, Manchuria are going to land, and one of them we're after is Skinny Wainwright.
Mhm.
And he said, so we waited. Pretty soon, here come 2 of them landing, and I never seen so many guys pile out of. Sure, I got the. I got the list of all the guys.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
There.
Yeah, I think you showed me that, yeah.
Anyway, they got out, and he had suntan shirt cut off to here, and he had a collar on. He had a star on one corner,
Uh-huh.
and then all the high-ranking officers at the base, they all wanted to shake his hand, and they had a band play a little music for him.
Mhm.
And the crew told me, it said, when he gets through all hoopla around here, he said, we're going to take him to Manila. And we said, we got a tailor here aboard, and we have a doctor aboard. And the tailor is going to make him a uniform on the way down to I think, yeah, to the Philippines, Manila.
Mhm.
And he said, then we're going to let him sleep a while, and we're going to get him up, and we're going to fly him to Tokyo, and he's going to sit on the US Missouri with, who was it, big general that was over there? I can't think of his
MacArthur?
name. Anyway, we're going to sit on Missouri with him, and the Japanese are going to surrender to him.
Mhm.
And we're going to let him sleep a little bit, and tomorrow morning we're going to fly him to Manila, and that Japanese general that he surrendered to, and they had that forced march, is going to surrender to Wainwright.
Mhm. Wow. Wow. So what did that feel like? Did you know the importance of what was going on at the time? No. Okay.
No.
It was only after that you learned how important what you were seeing was.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh, very good. Ferd, your family has asked me to ask you a number of questions, other questions about your life. Would you mind if we switch some topics a little bit?
Well, I was born on a farm in western Iowa,
Really? Do you remember near where? Western Iowa. Oh, nice.
and like everything else at that time, there wasn't much activity going. We went to a sheet metal school in Omaha,
Uh-huh.
and it was run by aircraft company in Douglas Aircraft Company.
Right.
And we completed it, and I think 3 or 4 of us got in a Model A Ford and drove out there, and we got a place to sleep in Venice, California.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then we next day we went up to Douglas Aircraft and walked in the door, and they hired us,
Yes.
and we went to work.
So was this after World War II had started?
I think no,
Before.
before.
Okay. So,
Anyway, when December the 7th got happened, we drove down. We had cars. We drove down to the beach, see what was going to look out west. We knew,
yes.
and here come a Jeep with 2 guys in it. One had a Thompson submachine gun, and across his lap, he says, "What in the hell are you guys doing here?" We said, "We're looking." He said, "Get your mouth out of here and don't let me catch you back."
There you go. There you go. Very good.
And they turned the lights. You couldn't have your shades. It had to be everything dark.
Right.
And if you drove, you had to drive with your parking lights on.
Right. Sure. Sure. I'm going to pause here for a sec. So, yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Could we back up just a little bit? Your family asked me to ask you about some things in your earlier life, like when did you graduate from high school? Did you go to high school?
No.
Okay. So tell me about your elementary school, your grade school experience.
We went to for a few grade 1-room school for a couple of years, and then we went down. We went to Catholic school and went to 8th grade there. Taught by nuns.
So this was in a town someplace?
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the town?
I think the name was Panama.
Okay. Very good. So you went to 8th grade then at this at the school at school. So do you remember anything about your grade school or 8th grade experience at all? I'm personally interested because my dad told me some stories about his life at that time. I was curious about anything. Do you remember anything at all? Any people or incidences or teachers or?
Well, I'll say one thing. They knew what they was doing, and they were sure that you knew what was going on.
I see. I see.
Well, I got to tell you about this. So,
okay, good.
the day Hoover was elected, a blizzard come up, and if you lived on a farm, why, they telephoned 3 shorts or some shorts, and you picked it up. Anyway, it came and they said, well, it's going to be a bad blizzard. And my mom called her brother, and he lived closer to town, and he had a couple saddle horses, and she said, go get me. And I remember he brought a sheepskin coat, and he rode right up to the school door, and he threw that sheepskin coat, and I put it on, and we headed out town, and the road was level. You could see the fence rose a little bit, but that's about it.
I see.
Anyway, we got to my grandparents, and he had got the cattle in and all the milking done. So my grandmother fixed our evening meal, and about 8:30 the wind laid down and the moon come out. It's just like daylight. And about that time the telephone rang. Now this is 1928.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy up the road said, "See, I got a new radio. You want to come up and listen to it?" So my uncle said, "Let's go up." So we got them saddle horses, and we rode up there. And that's the first time I ever heard a radio.
Really? 1928. 1928.
And it told, I think, Earl May and Henry Field was the only two stations. Well, I think WHO in Omaha.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. I see. I see. Wow. Wow. So did you go listen to the radio at other times? Did you?
No, I think I think well, the power was a car battery sitting underneath.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I have some of my grandfather's radios that he made.
Yeah.
Like that, yes.
But I think they became monkey see, monkey do, you know.
Right.
You got to have it if your neighbor has it.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So, were your parents farmers?
Yeah.
What kind of farming did they do?
Oh, corn, oats.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they did crops then. Did you have animals? Did you have chickens and cows?
Cows.
Oh yes.
Everybody had. Yeah, everybody had.
Did you have a garden?
Yep.
So did you had fresh vegetables from your garden?
Yeah.
Did you have
and we butchered hogs and cattle.
Did you have a root cellar?
Yeah. Dug up the potatoes and put them in the cellar.
Did you can fruits? Did you?
Yeah, my mother canned quite a bit of fruit.
And vegetables and such.
Had to survive.
Right. Did you have an ice box?
No.
Didn't have an ice box. So how did you keep your
well,
how'd you keep things fresh?
In the wintertime, we had a wooden barrel. I think it was a vinegar barrel, but it was good size. And put it on the north side of the house and put a wooden lid on it. And have the meat cut up, and it'd freeze solid.
I see.
That's the way it worked.
So how long did it stay then? I mean.
Well, eventually, in 1938, we got electricity. Yeah.
I see. So how did you get back and forth to school? Did you walk to school, or
Yeah.
was it not far?
I had a horse and a buggy, and My sister rode with me. We would drive it town, tie it up to the stockyards, and go home.
So did others,
Same thing.
other people would bring,
Well, some of them would bring their children, and most of them walked. But I can remember when I walked, we had a big snowstorm, and all the roads there was no roads open. And I'd walk south. About 3/4 of a mile was a railroad track.
Mm-hmm.
And I could walk over a 3 barbed wire fence that was that deep and froze.
Really?
And walked down to the railroad and walked to school.
Oh, yes, yeah. So you mentioned this is a one-room school. Was it like grades 1 through 6 or 7 or?
No, we had a wooden schoolhouse, and it had 2 stories, and it had 8 rooms. And then they decided that they needed more room, and they built a 2-story brick schoolhouse, and it had a gymnasium in it, play basketball.
So did you play sports?
I think baseball is about all.
So you mentioned a sister. So how many children were in your family?
Oh, I think it was 9.
9 kids. Wow. So where were you in the birth order?
Top.
You were the oldest?
Yep.
Oh, you were the oldest. Okay. So there were 9 of you. Wow. So so with that big a family, you were the oldest. Do you remember any experiences you had with your brothers and sisters?
No.
Okay.
Everybody got along pretty good.
So you said you went to Catholic school. Were you a Catholic family?
Yeah.
Did you attend Mass and church on most every weekend?
Yep.
Was the church a big part of your life?
Well, I think most all the people around were Catholic.
I see. So it was most everybody there were Catholic folks then. I see. Okay. Oh, your family asked me to ask you about Christmas season. Do you have any remembrances of Christmas season? What was it like for you? You had a big family, so you must have been a lot going on, perhaps, at Christmas season.
Well, it was. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Come a big snowstorm, and all the roads were closed. The only thing that got us open, they had a Caterpillar tractor with a big V on the front of it, and it would go and open the roads. But before that, the mailman would drive a Model T Ford as far as he could go, and then he'd give a leather satchel with all the mail to the first one, and he told him, you take the mail out that belongs to you, and you walk to the next one.
I see.
That's the way you got.
Oh, nice. That's really interesting. I'd never thought of that.
Yeah. Wow,
that's very interesting. So that just happened during snowstorms then.
Yeah.
I see. I see.
What are you going to do with all that info?
I don't know. I am not. But your family is. Joe is most interested in he's spearheading this information, asking me to do this, and I'm going to give the recording to him, and he's gonna proceed. So you have to ask him.
Yeah, I got a brother here in town,
So talk to me about him.
and Joe, my nephew. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the Joe I know is a nephew of yours.
Yeah.
So do you have a brother named Joe also?
No.
Okay. So I'd be interested in knowing some other things about your brothers and sisters. Anything you remember, or what became of them, or where they moved to, or
And my sisters were, some of them were nurses and some of them were school teachers. I still got one sister. I got two sisters that are retired school teachers.
Yes.
One's retired. She graduated from UCLA and then
Really?
became a school teacher. And then she taught till she retired. And I had one that's a RN. She passed away. Well, if you live long enough, you'll see them all go.
I know. So you said you had brothers also? You had brothers as well?
Hell, yeah.
Can you tell me anything you remember about them, or what became of them?
The one was a real good. Before they had corn pickers, you picked by hand.
Yes.
He was a good. He'd make a few bucks picking the corn by hand.
So did some of them stay in the area? You mentioned a sister went to UCLA. So what happened to the 9 kids, the 8 other ones? Did some of them stay in the area, or do you know?
No, they all. Well, in 1950, I just got out of service and I was fooling around trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I called my friend in Los Angeles, or Santa Monica rather. I said, "Can you get me on Douglas?" He said, "Show up, you already got a job."
Yep.
So I got in a car and I come down here and I ate lunch with him, and I said, my brother was with me. I said, we're going to bail out and go straight through to L.A. And they talked all. One of them, my brother-in-law, worked for GM. He said, go down there with me. It was about a mile from him. So we finally decided we would go down and walk with him to the gate. Walked down there, and he knew the guard. We talked a while. And about that time, a guy showed up. My brother-in-law says, "Hey, I think these guys are looking for a job." The guy with the white shirt says, "Yeah?" He said, "You in the military?" I said, "Yeah." he said, "You got a job."
Nice. Very nice. Yep. Yep.
I stayed there, I think 30, from 50 to 80 some.
That's very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that must have been comforting, because you're looking for a place to be, and you found it, and so that's got to be very comforting. Very comforting. Well, could we go back to your early life just a little bit? Your family would like to know some of these things. So you told me something about your brothers and sisters, and we appreciate that, or they appreciate that.
Well, like all of them, they all went to school, you know.
Really?
That was a big part of his life.
So were you encouraged all to go to school? Did your
Well,
parents ask you to do that?
It was almost had to.
It was you were understood that's what you were supposed to do.
That's right.
Oh, I see. So did that come from your parents? Did your parents expect you to do that, to go to school?
Well, he said, if you don't go to school, you ain't going to amount to much.
Oh, I see. I see. So had your parents been well educated? Had they gone to school?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think it. Yeah, I think they were probably 8th grade there.
Yeah. That was very common in those days.
That, if that was all that was supposed.
That's all you're supposed to do in those days. Sure. So what kind? So your family asked me to ask you about your parents. So can you tell me what your dad was like? Was he a good disciplinarian? Did he?
Oh, he was a pretty good
guy.
He was in France in World War
One. Uh-huh.
Anyway, there was 3 other guys that he knew were in the same outfit in France.
Uh-huh.
And I guess things went pretty well.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, my dad caught the flu, and they housed him in Napoleon's and mule barns,
Right.
and they had straw for a mattress.
Uh-huh.
And he got well,
Uh-huh.
and his order came that he was going to be sent home. So there was 3 other boys that lived down the road. They was sick, and they decided. My dad went down to see him, tell him goodbye. He was going home, and they said, "Oh, don't go. We'll get well, and we'll all go home together." And my dad said, "I damn sure ain't gonna die in no mule barn."
Right. Got it.
And he got on a boat and came home.
Right. Right.
And about a month later, the paper come out, and all 3 died.
Yeah. 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 So, well, tell me about your mom. Your family wants to know about your mom. What do you remember? What do you remember about her? She's probably very busy with 9 kids.
Yeah.
And being a farmer's wife. And,
you know, we lived close to. My grandparents had quite a bit of acreage right next door to them.
Was this you said your grandparents? This was your dad's parents or your mom's parents?
Mom's parents.
Mom's parents. Okay.
And they that was a big part of it. What they did, that was law.
Uh huh. So your parents were very.
Yeah.
You're very, very strict in raising you then. So okay, that's good. That's good. So tell me what a typical day might be like when you're on the farm. I mean,
Well, first of all, you got up and you milked the cows,
Uh-huh.
and then you fed the hogs,
Mm-hmm.
and then you fed the horses.
Mm-hmm. So did you farm with the horses?
Yeah.
That was your
Well, tractors come in a little later,
Uh-huh.
but most of the horses, when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was. Every farm had at least four draft horses.
Uh-huh. So what kind of jobs did you have? What were you expected to do as a
Well, you fed all the cattle, you milked the cows,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about it.
Uh-huh. So sometimes you played though. What kind of games did you play? And when you were kids, did you play with your brothers and sisters, or were you play with neighborhood kids or
Neighborhood kids mostly.
Uh-huh. So what did you play games or puzzles, or do you remember anything about that?
I don't remember too much about it.
Okay.
I know when we went to school in town, we played baseball and
Uh-huh.
stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You mentioned that you were expected to go to school. Your family expected the children to go to school.
Absolutely.
Were there books in the house? Were there books and things to read there?
Yeah, well, if you went to school, you could take a book or something home, but
Uh-huh.
you better bring it back.
Did you do that? Did you take books home?
Yeah.
Your brothers and sisters did too?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I see. I see. I see. So did you have time to play very much, or was it mostly work?
No, not too much. In town, we had baseball, softball,
Uh-huh.
and when we built that new school, they had basketball.
Uh-huh. Did you do much hunting or
Yeah,
fishing? Did you go
there
fishing?
was no fish around.
No fishing? Okay. But you did some hunting.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
pheasant.
Uh-huh. Did you have rifles or shotguns?
Both.
Did you personally have them, or
We had 20. My first .22 rifle was a single shot, and I think it cost $6.
Oh yes. Do you know what became of it? No. Okay. Okay. So
And they had pheasants around there.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. So you mentioned you went to a one-room school. Do you remember? Can you tell me what that was like, going to a one-room school? You remember how many kids you had in your class and what you would do in a day?
I think that in my class there was probably about 15.
Uh-huh. No, they were in different grades, or was that just your grade?
I think that was just my grade.
Well, that's quite a few.
Well, it was. Well, you take from the center of the school, you take 4 or 5 miles in any direction.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I see. I see. Yeah. Let's see. We're again. I'm looking at the list of things that that Joe provided me with. It says, were there any, you mentioned your life on the farm and doing chores and stuff. Were there anything that you really just didn't like to do, but you had to do? I mean, you mentioned feeding the cows and so forth and feeding the pigs. And
everybody knew what was expected on
I
it,
see.
and they didn't put out too much.
You just did it.
That's right. I rode a horse to school for a couple of years. Times at a stockyard fence.
I see. Was that common? Did other students do the same thing?
Yeah, there's other kids that did it.
I see. I see. Well, it says here something about chopping ice out of the river. We spoke about maintaining food. Did you guys chop ice and try to keep it in for some period of time?
My dad did, but as soon as we got electricity, why we.
Okay, but at some time you chopped ice, and did you?
There was a big, deep hole in the front of the house. And Dad used to tell about they dammed up the river or the creek, and the water got so high and then froze, and then they had an ice saw. And they'd cut blocks.
Right.
And when they put it in, they put sawdust on the ice.
Right.
So it wouldn't all melt.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I was talking with a friend the other day who lives in who has a farm in southeastern Kansas, and he was talking about the same thing. There's some Amish farmers down there today who are doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're a bit concerned.
Well, that's the way, there was no ice.
Right.
Until you got electricity.
And electricity came about when?
38.
38. I see.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you did most of the you grew a lot of produce, and you had you butchered meat and so forth.
You butchered hogs, cattle.
So tell me, when you went to there was obviously a grocery store some place in town.
You took everybody had chickens and they laid eggs. And then you would take the eggs to the grocery store, and he'd candle them to see there was no bad ones.
Right.
And he'd buy the eggs for a certain price, and then you would spend them to buy groceries.
I see. So that was your source of income on a daily basis.
Well, you milked cows and sold cream. Everybody had a separator.
Right.
And yeah.
So did someone come by and pick up the okay. They picked up the milk then.
And then you could trade so many pounds. Your previous cream had so many pounds of buck fat, and you would have been able to trade for butter that was already boxed, in containers.
Sure. So do you remember going to the store? Did you go to the store with your parents?
Yeah. Yeah. My first vaccination was, I don't know what I got vaccinated, but the doctor showed up, and everybody on that day, and everybody came there and got vaccinated.
I see.
And on Sunday or Saturday night, the businessman in town had a guy come in with a projector, and he'd show a movie on the side of a grocery store, a brick store.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And everybody watched.
Really? So there. I see. So was that was a form of entertainment that you had then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody came.
So yeah, okay, all right. So there wasn't a theater then. That was how you.
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. So you. I'm reading from the things they asked me to ask you here. Do you feel that your experience on the farm made you kind of who you are? Do you feel that you learned some things there that made you just helped you get through life, or tell me what you think about that?
Well, I knew right off. Money is what makes the world go round.
I see.
And
Money talks. Yes.
you better figure out a way.
Better find a way to make some, right? I see. I see. I see. So did you ever think about becoming a farmer or going back to the farm?
No.
No. Did any of your brothers and sisters go back to the farm?
No, I don't think so. I'll tell you what I guess I must have been 16 or 17, 16.
Uh-huh.
And the guy next door sold his farm, and he went to South Dakota, and you could buy land pretty cheap, and he bought a pretty big acreage, and he had a thrashing machine and a steam engine. Anyway, I guess all of us guys around 16, 17, he came down there and said, "Hey, I got a job for you. Come work for me in the Dakotas after you get through here." And we went up there. I think we got $1 a day.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we hauled bundles and when the big stack of straw was, when the end of the day, he brought out some sacks that were wet, and he had a tractor. He pulled the equipment, the thrashing machine and the steam engine, pulled it away, and they plowed around the stack, and a strip of maybe 50 feet, and we said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "We're going to burn it." He said, "If we don't do that, it'll rain on that straw, and all you'll have is a manure pile."
Manure, yeah, right. Yeah, gotcha. 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 I gotcha. Well, they asked me here to ask you something. You mentioned your childhood and going to school and so forth. And they asked me to ask you about your experiences with dating. When did that start for you? Were you in?
I don't think I dated till I went to the West Coast.
Okay. I see. So did you do some dating out there?
Yeah, now and then.
Uh-huh. So tell me what I mean, I don't want all the details. You don't have to tell me all the details. But what, in those days when you ask a girl out, what is like today where you'd go to a movie, go out for dinner. So what was that experience like? For most guys, it's kind of threatening at first. What was it like for you?
Well, if we went, we generally went with a bunch of guys and a bunch of gals.
So it was a community kind of dating
Yeah.
then. Yeah, yeah.
It was generally understood if you was going to end up with one, you better have a job of some kind.
I see.
Make some money.
I see. Okay, okay. So where did you meet these young ladies?
Oh, school probably.
Okay. So but this is when you're on the West Coast. But you weren't really going to school, were you? Or tell me about that.
Oh. Well, there was gals worked there at aircraft plant,
Uh-huh.
and most of them were single,
Right.
and if you one struck your eye, why you might make a move, see what it would. Wanted to go
Uh-huh.
out.
So did you have cars? Did you have transportation?
Yeah, I had
okay.
cars.
You had cars. Okay, okay. But
First car I had was a 37 Chevrolet.
oh yeah. So tell me about it.
It was transportation.
I see. Okay.
That's what took me to work.
That's all you needed to know. All right. That's good. That's good. Oh, that's good.
We had a place out there at Douglas. It was a separate building, and nobody could go in there unless you had a okay. And I couldn't figure out what in the hell was going on,
Uh-huh.
and nobody else could.
Uh-huh.
So one day, a guard who we knew come in about the evening, and he said, you know that bird that's been in that cage over there? He said that bird's going to fly tomorrow. And
Oh,
that
yeah?
meant that they're going to test hop that.
I see.
So we asked him when, and he said, well, I can't, but he said if I was a gambling man, I'll say. So we all got out there and parked it. The wind come from the west, so we parked on the west side of the runway quite a ways.
Uh-huh.
And out come that thing, and that was a huge aircraft. At that time, it was one of the biggest in the world, B-19.
Uh-huh.
And we sat there and watched, and here it come down the runway, and it got about a quarter of the way, and fire shot out from one of the engines, and he put the brakes on and shut the engine off, and turned it around and went back, and the mechanics pulled the cowling off of it, and somebody forgot to tighten the carburetor down on one of the engine,
Uh-huh.
and that's what caused. So the next time they took off, it just like a big bird, it flew east to Riverside and was loaded with sacks of mail that said the first flight of the B-19.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, they couldn't get any airspeed out of it. They sent it to Indiana and they took all the engines off of it and put some big ones on. They still couldn't get any airspeed out of it. So I think they ended up out there in the desert where they keep all the old airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it ended up.
I see.
It wasn't I think that little deal practically broke Douglas.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, there were a few airplanes like that. I know that they had this idea and it never quite worked out. That's interesting that you told me about that. Most interesting. Well, I have another question here. If I can change topics a little bit, if you don't mind. Or you have something else you want to say? It sounds like you have something else you want to say. It sounded like you had another thought you wanted to complete.
What?
No, never mind. Okay. Again, looking at the questions that your family has asked me to ask you, I know I personally have people that I admire in my lifetime. Some people I kind of, have made my life like. Do you have any folks like that you have kind of patterned your life like, or admired especially, or they could be people from from the news, but in my case it's more nearly just people I've known. You have anybody like that, and why you might have chosen to be more like them?
No, not really.
Okay.
I got
Is there any one person that you felt especially close to that you kind of?
well, I thought my sisters that became RNs was pretty good for a gal.
So you admired them for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that. Especially for a gal, she has to have a profession.
Yes.
Yeah. But other than that, I think if you're going to start after something, you better be sure you know where you're headed.
Yeah. Right. So, did you ever, well, when you went to California, you had an idea where you were headed. Did you ever just try something and not know where you were headed? Did you ever, like buy something or try to start a company or just try something on a lark and see what would happen?
No, I got drafted out of there.
Yeah, right.
Well, this is my brother under me. The draft board got a hold of him, said, there's two of you are draft age. Now one of you is going to have to go.
Right.
So I had a deferment for working for Douglas.
Right.
So I said, well, wait a minute. If they're going to take my younger brother, I'll go and he can stay. That's the deal we cut.
Right. Sure. Well, I'm looking at my list of things here. One of the things that I'm asked to ask you, and it's interesting to me as well, it says, what's the most exciting day of your life?
Oh, I don't know.
Or an exciting day. It wouldn't have to be the most exciting day. An exciting day. Something that you remember with with fondness? You can visualize or have a feeling about.
Well, I want to think about it. We was in Burma, I think it was, and the commanding general was going to get a medal from the British government, and it's going to happen. It's going to be in the head of the British at that time in India and Burma. Was Sri Lanka, that island off the tip of India.
Yes.
So they put a big deal up on the bulletin board. It says anybody wants to go, there's some work has to be done. So I, like a fool, put my name on
it. Right.
So what shows up, what they bring up, but a 4-engine B-24 that was oil from, and we got gas and cleaned it up. And we got in it and went to Sri Lanka. That was where the British top echelon was.
Right.
And we were the only GIs there. There was gals there and nightclubs, and we had a ball.
Right. I see. Were you a dancer? Did you like to dance?
Yeah, but I was a poor dancer.
I see. I see. You liked doing it, but you weren't good at it. I see. I can relate to that. I see. I see. Okay, all right. Well, let me see. So you mentioned your wartime travel experiences. Did you do any other travel that you'd like to share about? I mean, have you?
Oh,
you know.
After we had married, my wife wanted to. I came pretty close to buying a house in Colorado Springs.
Oh, did you? So tell me about that.
Well, we'd go out there. I went out there probably at least a dozen times, one time every year.
Was that before you were married, or while you were married?
While we were married and before.
Before, okay, right.
First time, my wife's company had a reunion out there, and I went out there. But like everything else, I never could figure out. You go to Loveland and you go what? We were there the first week after that flood that took out Thompson Canyon.
1976. Yes, I know. I was there.
You was?
Yes. That was in Loveland. I have a good friend who moved to Estes Park that summer to start a business. Yes.
There was propane tanks living out there.
Yeah. Right.
All junk.
Right. So is that when you were thinking about buying a house there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was, you said, but that Okay. You said you're going to buy a house, or thinking about buying a house in Colorado Springs. Okay. So you just decided not to do it, or?
Well, I don't know why,
Yeah.
but until she decided she wanted to travel, we'd go out there every year.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So what did you do when you were there? What did you do? Go up to the mountains,
Oh.
or?
Yeah, we'd go to the Stanley Hotel there.
Sure. Sure. Yes.
That
Yes.
gal that
Very nice.
at that big organ, and the light shine down on her, and
Yes. 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 Yes.
said, "Eat there."
Uh-huh.
She thought that was pretty neat.
Yes. Yeah.
How come you didn't go?
I did live in Colorado. I did live in Colorado Springs for a while.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes. For 10 years. And so I did that. And I came back here thinking about going back there, but yes, yeah. So you mentioned your wife. You said your wife's company took.
Yeah,
Who was she working for?
she was working for some. Let's see. She working for some company that was a bank building in Kansas City, Kansas.
Uh-huh.
I can't think of the name of the company.
I don't know.
And they'd have a reunion out there.
Uh-huh. So what kind of work did she do?
She was a office worker.
Okay. All right. I see. I see. So aside from Colorado Springs, did you guys take trips? Any other trips? Did you take driving trips, or did you ever fly any place, or?
Dorothy lived down south.
Uh huh.
We'd go down there, go to New Orleans.
Uh huh.
Any place.
So did you go visit any of your siblings, your brothers and sisters? Did you go visit them at all during vacations?
Yeah, we did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them were scattered all over. You
Sure,
know.
sure. Did you go visit any of your wife's family?
Well, my wife's family was her sister, who was my sister-in-law.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see.
But she lived down there.
Uh,
We'd go down there.
I see. I see. I see. Did you think about doing other travel, or just didn't happen to?
I don't know. The traveling kind of. When I got out of service, I seen so damn much of it.
You traveled enough. I see. I see. I see. So with 9 kids in your family, you must have lots of nieces and nephews.
Yeah, I do.
Uh-huh.
But I got a nephew. They were retired from the. I don't know. He was licensed to carry a gun,
Uh-huh.
and he got put 20 years in, and he can retire.
Uh-huh. Right. Well, I have a question here that your family's asked me to ask you. And I'm going to ask it simply because they've asked me to ask you. And the question is, did you want to have children?
Oh, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
I see.
You
I
know, it didn't one way or the other.
see. I see. Okay. All right. Well, I say I felt a little bit uncomfortable asking the question, but
But you know, that's kind of, if you have children, that's about a 20-year.
yeah.
Either you're successful at it or you're not.
Yeah. Right. And sometimes you don't know for more than 20 after 20 years.
Yeah.
For 40 years, sometimes you don't even know. Yes. I see. I see.
Yeah. I went to work for GM, and I thought, well, this ain't for me.
I
And
see.
I don't know 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
Right.
And then I bought a house.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see.
I bought this one, 1985, I think.
Uh-huh.
Guy that bought it was in the banking business,
Mm-hmm.
and he had one daughter, and she was in college, and then he got sick, and the doctor said, you better get all your eggs and get out of the, he says, you ain't got long for this,
Really?
and I bought the house.
Uh-huh. So that was a good thing for you? Good move?
Yeah. It's a good area.
It is. It is.
I see in the paper here, that outfit tells you how many houses in your area sell,
Mm-hmm.
what's the highest one.
Right. Yeah, I think you've done well.
The one across the street there, he had 2 daughters, and they were in Denver,
Uh-huh.
and one of them married the doctor, and the doctor got sick, and it like to broke him, so he had to bail him out,
Uh-huh.
and he was the original owner of that big house across the street,
Right.
and he said, I bought that house when there was a hole in the ground.
Right.
Anyway, he passed away about a year ago, and they put the house up for sale, and nobody wanted to buy it.
Uh-huh.
And a construction company bought it, and I asked my brother, he worked for Dunn, I said, why wouldn't anybody right mind? It needs a lot of tender work.
Right.
He said, construction company got people, they work 24 months out of, 12 months out of the year. And he said, if they don't have work for them in the
Right.
winter time, they're not going to be in business for it.
Right, exactly. Right, sure. So they have some things for them to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I noticed
So
the house is vacant over
They
there.
gutted the house.
Uh-huh. I see. Yeah, I noticed it was vacant over there.
I'll guess I'll guess that house will, if it's cleaned up and everything, I think it'll bring 300,000.
Really, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It's a nice house. Nice neighborhood. Nice neighborhood. Oh, very good. Well, Ferd, I have some things to do, and you and I have spent an hour and a half here today. I feel very good about the time we spent. I thank you. I'd like to spend a little bit more time with you at some point, if that would be okay with you.
Yeah, that'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about the progress we've made here and the discussion we've had.
You mean Joe might be behind you?
I feel very good about visiting with you. It's very fun. I like learning about you. It's a very pleasant experience, and I appreciate the time that you've.
Where do you teach?
I teach out at Johnson County Community College now. So I teach three math classes out there, and having a good time with that. And probably need to get back and get some of that work done today. But I thank you. Is there a chance maybe this weekend we could get together again?
Well, I wouldn't. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, from one day to the
Right.
next.
Yeah, I know. Perhaps I can call in a couple of days and visit with you again, and maybe we can make another arrangement. Would that be okay?
Well, let's put it a week or so.
Okay. All right. Okay. Maybe a week from today. Is that a possibility?
I don't know.
I have my Thursdays are freer than other days. That's why I'm asking that.
Well, let's go down the road away.
Okay. Great.
Are you satisfied?
I'm happy. Not only satisfied, I'm happy.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's not many people that can stand there and say, I saw the guy that sat on the Missouri
Yes.
and saw the Japanese.
Yes. I know.
Oh, I got a couple of paintings out here. Japanese paint on silk.
Nice.
And they come out of Japan before World War.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'll show them to you.
I'd like to see them. On my way out.
My sister-in-law had them.
Uh-huh.
Her husband was a chief petty officer in the Navy.
Uh-huh.
And he got them before World War for the Japs. And,
Right.
And she gave them to my wife.
Uh-huh.
And my wife had them rolled up in a dresser drawer for 3 or 4 years. I said, why in the heck don't you do something with them?
Right.
I said, she said, what? I said, get them framed.
Right.
I'll show them to you.
Oh, great. That's great. Ferd, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ferd is kind enough to show me a couple of paintings here in the hall.
Oh, I want to show you this.
Yes.
That-
Oh, yes. Oh my, yes. Ferd is.
Well, I'll tell you how I got that.
Okay.
I went to D.C. on that honor
On a flight, yes.
and I come back, and they had a deal over town for all the fellas that were on that flight.
Uh-huh.
So my brother and I went over, and so when it was all over, somebody come by and said, how old are you?
Uh-huh.
And I told him, and I saw nothing of it. And when it was over, said, "You know you're the oldest one here." I said, "And what will that get me?"
Yeah, right.
She said, "Well, I got a painting out here I want to give you."
Nice.
And so I said, "I can't carry no paintings." So my brother was with me. I said, "Go get that painting." So he went and got it. And she said, "That painting is numbered on the back.
Uh-huh.
Is on only so many of them were made,
Uh-huh.
and they quit making them."
Right.
So
You're lucky. You're lucky. Yeah, it's a great painting. So what is the
I think it's the Missouri River.
It is.
Because it looks like there's an airport.
it's the Missouri River and
Yeah,
the airport in Kansas City there. Yes.
I'll show you. I had these in a couple of cigar boxes in the basement,
Uh-huh.
and the gal comes
Oh yes.
and she said, "Why don't you do something with them?" I said, I don't know anybody." She said, "I do.
Uh-huh.
I do that."
Mm-hmm.
So
These are the medals and stuff sets that you got from your service? Very nice. Very nice.
so she did.
Uh-huh.
She put them in there, and I said, "How do I owe you?" Well, she said, "Would $40 be too bad?"
Uh-huh.
I said, "Well."
That's very good. Very good. Yeah, Ferd has showed me some of the medals and insignia he got from his service time in the military. Well, Ferd, I thank you. This has been a great experience for me, and I'm sure your family is going to be greatly appreciative. It's especially useful to me. I just enjoy being with you.
Yeah.
You're a very pleasant fellow.
Well, you know, your neighbor helps me a lot too.
Yeah, I know. Joe's a good guy. Joe's a good guy. So you said Joe is one of your nephews.
Yeah.
So he's the son of one of your siblings. Is that correct?
No, he's son of my brother.
Son of your brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, he has another brother.
Uh-huh. Yes.
But like everything else, you know, sometime stay here. I'll run back. I want to show you something.
Okay. I'll be right here. Thank you, Ferd. Oh yes. Yeah, Ferd is bringing me the booklet from his honor flight in November 11, 2013.
Yeah, to look at it.
Yes.
That's
Very nice.
well, Joe's on there.
Yeah, I see. There's Joe right there. Yes. Very nice. Very nice.
She took the pictures out of the original, his big book, but she took some pictures and made this.
Yes.
My niece did.
Yes, very nice.
This is me.
Yes.
I think that's Joe.
That looks like Joe. Yep, it does. So what do you remember most about that trip?
Well,
What was the most meaningful part of it?
hey, this is my brother-in-law. He was a P-51 pilot,
Yes.
and they said to him, his daughters are nurses. They said, well, what do you want for your birthday? He said, I want to fly a P-51.
Oh yes.
So they said, we'll see what we can do.
Uh huh.
So they called him. They said we got you set up. So they went down and he flew. It had a co-pilot.
Uh huh.
See, 51 originally was single, just a pilot.
Right.
Anyway, he flew, and a week later, a guy and he got in and flew, ended up in the Gulf of Mexico.
Really? Wow.
Killed them both.
Wow. 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 That's a very nice picture.
Pardon?
That's very nice pictures.
Oh.
Good looking guy there. Good looking guy. Wow. I really appreciate you sharing that with me, sir.
Well,
I really do.
see on the back.
Oh, yes.
Got
Nice. So this is one of your nieces?
niece.
Yes. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So the
So did you get to meet any
I got
Congress people there, or were there any congressmen or congresswomen there, or?
oh yeah. Who was that one guy? That my brother-in-law. He got him and a senator got
Oh yes. Nice.
maybe.
Very nice. Very nice. I appreciate you sharing that, sir.
Yeah. Okay, well, like everything else, you know, if sometime I'll show you. Well, Joe's got a copy as a trip.
Oh yeah? Good.
Have him show you.
I will do that. I will do that. Definitely. Definitely. Wow. I really do appreciate your time, sir.
Well, we ain't gonna be around much longer.
I understand what you're saying. I understand.
How many years you got under your belt?
I got 72.
72. Yeah. You ain't doing too bad.
I'm not doing too bad. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy.
I'm 94, I think.
That'd be, well, let's see, yeah. Let's see,
Yeah.
you were born in 19?
1920.
1920, yep. Yep. Yeah, my dad was born in 23, so you and he were about the same age.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get together again.
I look forward to it, sir. I look forward.